Peace. What's up, y'all? I'm back. Your boy, Brother Phil, and Soul of a Nerd. And we're getting there, folks. WandaVision. Let's see if I can make a. Yeah, there we go. Wanda, West Side. WandaVision. You know what I'm saying? Episode 8. Let's get right into it. First of all, in the days since the episode has aired, it's a little bit of I'm hearing like rumblings there might be a 10th episode, but who knows? I got to do a little more research on that. In the meantime, we're basically looking at the next. Uh, this is the second to last episode, and there's one more coming. So let's talk about it. Um, First of all, right after finishing, within 5 to 10 minutes, I really had to sit there and process. Like, I had to go to work like shortly after that episode ended. I watched it Saturday evening, so I didn't even see it Friday. Avoided spoilers and all that stuff. And I had to go to work Saturday night. But man, like, I really wanted to jump right on, and I just wish I could have just gotten into an instant panel discussion about episode 8. That's how good that episode was. Best episode so far, in my opinion. Uh, and coincidentally, it's kind of interesting to me. The other best episode, I also did something this weekend. Took the, I used my account to let my niece watch because she doesn't have access to it. Well, my niece is, but they don't have access to Disney Plus right now. So we watched it. I let her binge, cut it at episode 5. So, wait, was that 5? It might have been 3. No, it was, yeah, we went through episode 4, which is the episode where we get all the backstory on Monica. And, yeah. So, interestingly enough, I previously remember saying that was the best episode, clearly, of the first 4, was episode 4. And then I thought episode 4 was better than episode 5. And I thought that, although they were close, and I thought that, episode 6 was, if you recall my video uh, thoughts. So it looks like episode 4 and episode 8, interestingly enough, it's like halfway through and then almost at the end. Every 4 episodes, I guess. They knock it out the park, whatever. So, yeah. So getting to watch them again, picking up so many of the clues and everything was just making so much more sense watching it again after seeing this episode 8. And obviously the main thing is the reveal of Agatha. And right off rip, we get a little backstory on her and her witchness. Obviously, she's a very high-powered witch, and looked like she sucked the life out of her mother and her sisters and other sisters of the witch, sisterhood of the witches. They did a nice little anti-aging thing on Catherine Hahn, so I don't know if anybody noticed that. Thought that was really good. Again, when it comes to my stuff, I can touch on anything, whether it's special effects, dialogue, acting performances, set design. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's like I like to talk about everything. That's what makes me a nerd, basically. I think. So yeah, I like those special effects. Even the drained out witches, nice some horror effects there, which once again bodes pretty well for things like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Blade. It's going to deal with vampires and stuff. So, that's a whole other topic. I should make a video about the whole rated R PG thing with Blade. I got a lot of MCU thoughts I could really make a video about current state and all that thing. But let's get back to WandaVision. Um, I wasn't like all that impressed with that backstory. And let me just say this right now. This was a thought I was thinking about before I made this, as I was preparing to make this video, some thoughts ran through my mind in notes that I would hit. And I'm just going to say this now. I like, as far as this episode and Agatha's presentation, I guess I'll say, through this episode, it's a little bit of hit and miss for me. Catherine Hahn is a good actress. That's for sure. I'm used to her from comedic stuff, but she's just like one of those charismatic people. Like, what I mean? Her energy is just huge. Whatever she's doing, it's just like very impactful. And, you know, she's not a person, she's not boring. She's very entertaining. There we go. So, her being a villain, she's she's good at it. But I guess the way I would describe it is, at times in this episode, she came across as like a Disney villain. You know what I'm trying to say? Like a Disney movie. I used to watch the ABC series owned by Disney. I would periodically watch it. My daughter was into it, and that's Happily Ever After. I think that's what it's called. Or Once Upon a Time. No, it's called Once Upon a Time, where they gave a dramatic depiction of different fairy tales. It was actually a good show. Very clever, to me, well done show. Like giving it more of a modernized adult take. But my daughter was like 10 or 11, so yeah, she was watching it. Yeah, I mean, it was on ABC network television. Probably some of the matter was probably overhead, probably a little mature for her, but it was cool. And actually, this was around the time I was really big into Agents of Shield, so we were both big ABC watchers there. But it was giving me those kind of vibes, Agatha. That and like watching Maleficent, things like that. So you know what I mean. So it wasn't like a superhero action type villain. It was so that was a little iffy for me. Just I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's just because being a guy or whatever, because I love Maleficent, but of course that was about having sympathy for Maleficent rather than her being a villain. But if you follow what I'm trying to say, like some of it was a little, I don't know, I'm not gonna say cheesy or hokey, but just uh kid. I guess it was kid, juvenile maybe, just beneath an adult level of villainy. You know what I'm trying to say, in terms of like creating scary, it almost felt like I said, like how you would treat villains for a kid. It's not too harsh and not too scary. So that was a little, in a way, like I said, disappointing. But then it was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's like it's Catherine Hahn. It's almost like did her a disservice to not allow. It's almost like the villain you would think Catherine Hahn would play. You know what I'm saying? If somebody told you up front she's going to be the villain in the series, you'd have been like, oh, okay, well, that's going to be, kind of heavy on the comedy or clever, witty one-liners type of villain. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being a badass, scary, dangerous type witch. You see what I'm saying now? If that makes sense. In a way, like when Kristen Wiig was cast as Cheetah, I'm sure people had their doubts or concerns about her playing a villain. And again, there's some parallels because she was good, don't get me wrong, but the movie, in the way it was written, still had some cheese factor. But when I hear the review Wonder Woman, if you follow what I'm saying though, like that, certain aspects of it. Now, when she wanted to be vicious or come across like menacing, she did it. 'Cause like I said, she's a good actress. From what I could say, I do have more appreciation for her as an actress playing this. But again, it felt a little bit like an ABC. TV show villain instead of a MCU movie villain. I mean, you think about Hela in Thor Ragnarok, and she cracked little smart jokes because Taika Waititi and the MCU has that tone anyway. But she always came across dangerous and menacing, if that makes sense. So, and maybe that's their point. Maybe she's not even meant to be that type of character. I don't know enough about Agatha Harkness from comics, and I don't obviously know enough about what the MCU's uh, version of this character is. Let's keep that in mind. The MCU will do whatever they want to do with the characters, you know, personality or demeanor, and I have no qualms with that. It's just do it. Sometimes it's going to work for me, sometimes it's not. Period. Um, so into the storyline, she takes Wanda on a journey to the past. Um, this is where, so right, this is early in the movie, and I could already see where they were going with that she was about to do that to her. But you do get your answers as far as how she was behind things, and she was trying to get to understand how in the world is this woman basically practicing witchcraft in her eyes on a level she can't understand. She's like, I'm a powerful witch. She's like, what are you doing? You up here? They call it something about chaos creation or something. I think was that towards the end. Anyway, you see what I'm saying? So that's good. As far as a plot, like motivation, villain's motivation, that's good. I mean, obviously no one knew what is going to be the end all of like why is this stuff happening, so on and so forth. I think this is actually a great direction to take it in. That someone, a witch, would be wondering why does this person have this kind of power, and I'm looking forward. I hope they explain again. How does she get into the hacks? Why was she in Westview in the first place? You know what I'm saying? But as far as that being her angle, works great for me. Got to have a good angle for your villain, and they nailed it with this one, as far as I'm concerned. So she takes Wanda on a trip down memory lane, where we get to see her and Pietro as little kids with their parents still alive in Sokovia in a humble home. I mean, it was, I don't know, like it just got to me. Like it was really kind of touching because you see how they're living. Like I mean, I come from a unique situation, and I'm not going to go into that. But I have dealt with very meager means in life at times in my life. Not even as a child, though, but throughout my life. So although there were degrees of that even in my childhood, certain aspects of my upbringing. So it's like I always have an appreciation for that kind of poor upbringing. Again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I was brought up poor, okay? Not that I would be ashamed if I was, I would tell you, but I'm not saying that, understand? I grew up actually in an affluent neighborhood, or a nice, very nice neighborhood. Um, so the yeah, just seeing them at home with their family was really touching. Then we get the I just, like I said, I like little humble apartments, in that type of vibe where it's just love, the people. It's not about how rich you are, it's about those bonding moments. And this is that MCU brilliance, is they established that in just a few minutes, just with a scene of this family sitting down watching. What else? We get our answer, which I I'm not claiming I'm the only person who said this, but I said this long ago. I mean, literally, I said it word for word. I've typed it into comment sections on other YouTubers when they're discussing early on. You're like, well, why are they doing this 60s, 50s sitcom? I tried to tell this to people on Facebook when they were confused about it, Facebook friends and stuff. I said, yeah, it's probably going to harken back to these people were from Sokovia, and they probably watched old sitcoms to better their language. And they literally said this. Pietro literally makes this comment to his father. So that's what they were doing. And then it was just cute though how I didn't really totally get it, but it looked like he brought these videotapes home. Maybe he was getting them bootleg. I don't know because he said something like he would get them sold. He promised his wife. So it's almost like he was using them to make money. It looked like. I have to watch it again. By the way, I have not watched the episode twice, like I said, it's my rule before I do my videos. But I'm actually playing it right now, so I'm kind of checking in with it on semi-mute, very low volume. But the point is, I didn't need to watch it twice to know that it was definitely my favorite episode so far. I'm a mark for the connective stuff. When they do a throwback or those Easter egg references, I'm just a mark for them. I'm that guy, like I said, when I heard them mention, like I said, I didn't say that here. That's a bad habit to say, like I said, when you didn't actually say it. But for example, when they mentioned Justin Hammer's weapons in Luke Cage, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sitting there, Cottonmouth mentioned it, and I'm sitting there like, no, they didn't just say that. Justin Hammer, you know what I'm saying? That's the kind of guy I am. So for them to go back and revisit Age of Ultron, and I was sitting here watching it, and they're watching, they're watching their TV shows. Um, and of course they were Dick Van Dyke and I Dream of Jeannie or something like that. So you really got to see what was implanted in the memories of, the fond memories of Wanda's childhood, which is why subconsciously or consciously she has, um, what's that word you want to say? She summoned, or you know what I mean, tapped into those thoughts, and they surfaced in her Westview reality. Um, but nice little moment. I mean, nice little shock to just get right into things. Watching the TV show and then boom, explosion. So I instantly was thinking, oh, this is the explosion which is crazy. Their mom looks out the window and there's just war going outside in their backyard, basically. But yeah, when the bomb went off, I literally said to my lady, and I think my daughter was in the room, and I was like, we're about to see that bomb that says Stark on it. Because I remember that vividly, that line in Age of Ultron where they told Tony Stark about how they had an explosion in their home and the only thing they saw was a bomb that said Stark. And they were stuck and they were waiting for it to go off and kill them. Now, this is where it's like, I'm sure there's no way they're going to try to convince me that they had thoughts of this moment down the line to make this revelation. It was just a line in Age of Ultron, but they talked about in Age of Ultron even how the bomb never went off and they were stuck there looking at it, waiting for it to kill them. We get the answers though, and then maybe they did. Maybe they were really thinking this far ahead. Kevin Feige, whoever, was thinking this far ahead to have this revealed. Maybe not necessarily in this TV show, but in another movie, and that we get to see that the bomb never went off, and it didn't even really. I didn't catch it the first time, but it's like Wanda more or less wished that it wouldn't, and it didn't. So right there, if it wasn't for Agatha questioning that, I wouldn't have even really noticed. Like, wait a minute, wait. That is a little different than the story they told in Age of Ultron. Or it's not different. It's just a little bit of a twist to the actual reasoning for why didn't this bomb ever go off. And they did distinctly, I'm pretty sure, say they were there for several days next to this bomb. So now it's like, I just looked at it like it was a way to make Tony a villain in their eyes, but obviously it never went off, so Tony's not that bad. You know what I mean? He didn't kill the kids, that kind of thing. Um, and then you think about how that even goes back to Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, and how his weapons got into the wrong people's hands. It's just so deep. It's like my daughter and my niece said, everything comes back to Tony, and it kind of does. So Agatha points out, like, wait a minute, you put a hex or something, she said, on that bomb, and I think Wanda wasn't even really trying to acknowledge that. You know what I'm trying to say? And so yeah, That's what basically saved her and Pietro in that situation. Then they fast forward to the situation from uh, them being experimented on with Strucker and them, and that was the mind blowing moment, a dope revelation. It's a little like a retcon, and I notice I hear in the community like people jump on changing continuity and stuff like that, doing retcons. And I'm kind of one of those people. I'm not crazy about retcons, but if you do them well, I'm all for them. I mean, actually, again, it's dope if you can retcon something to add more to the legend, or add more to the mythology. That's all. Some retcons are for convenience. I don't like those. This was not one of those to me. This definitely better serves Wanda's character going forward. And I'm going to mention another thing that it could do. But it's like that moment. They send her in there with the Loki scepter. Well, it's a stone that basically Thanos already had acquired and put in a scepter and gave it to Loki. But yeah, so the Mind Stone was in this thing. She walks in there and just basically, again, telepathically pulls the thing towards her and explodes. And there's the stone, which is dope, deeply dope, and dopely deep. that that stone is the stone that ends up in Vision's head. So it's almost like they were destined to fall in love. Isn't that crazy? Uh, yeah. Oh, I'm looking at this right now. She watched Malcolm in the Middle at the Avengers compound, and that's exactly what I said was the tone of episode 6. Yes, the episode of the Halloween. I said it was like a Malcolm in the Middle type vibe. So the the moment there is incredible. So what it's telling you is she had some kind of abilities before she ever walked into you know what I mean? Before she ever faced the actual Infinity Stone. Incredible revelation. So let me just get to this. So my point is with that, it's great for her character because now she's not just somebody who was powered by the stone. You can give her a different reason for having her powers. But I also think that very thing I just said could be what else? Something that we used to have to say in the MCU. Well, she's not blah 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 because her powers came from the stone because they're not allowed to be blah 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 in the MCU because Fox has the X-Men, right? That could be mutant. So could be. You could open the door for her to be a mutant and have a whole tie to Magneto, which I would love. Again, I'm not the biggest comic geek. I just like if that's what it was in the comic books, I'm like, hey, please do it on screen. And I just feel like since Magneto's a dope character, who I've always been a fan of Magneto. That's one character I did get into as far as toys, comics, and cartoons, but not really Scarlet Witch. So if you're telling me Magneto had children, oh yeah, I'm all for that. Like I think he's such a deep character, layered character. If you give him children, that just is going to be even better. So when I found out in my adult life that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were his children in the comics, I was like, oh, okay, I never read that. I never knew that. I used to have a lunchbox of the Avengers, and it had Vision, it had Hawkeye, it had Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Captain America. It's kind of crazy. Like, it was just random. My mom bought it for me. I had that lunchbox, I think, it was either kindergarten, first grade, second grade, or first grade, second grade, third grade. But it was like 3 consecutive years. That was my lunchbox, like in elementary school. I remember that sucker like it was yesterday. It was hard. I wish I still had it. It's crazy. If who would have thought we'd have this stuff this many years later? I'm talking about early '80s. Me being in elementary school. If I'd have known. And like I say, it wasn't like I was a fan of the Avengers. I think I probably only asked her to get it for me because the Hulk was on it. Because I was a Hulk mark. Those other people, I didn't know who they were. I learned who they were through time. and I always thought Vision looked dope. But yeah, anyway, um, I just had to throw that in there because it just dawned on me that I used to look at the Scarlet Witch on my lunchbox, and the thermos inside matched it. I'm gonna look that up. I wonder if there's a some kind of throwback, just a visual. I mean, obviously, I don't think I could go get it. Although they should remake that stuff, remanufacture it for the current times. Anyway, so they go from there into her, what, again, I'm just loving filling in the gaps type stuff too. So you got to see, because one thing, Wanda and Vision's romance was, I mean, it was done fairly well considering the limited screen time the two characters have had. Again, good writing and storytelling, dialogue, and body language, and all that acting made it not hard to believe. It wasn't hard to be convinced that the two of them fell in love. But we really didn't have any moments to really solidify that early. We just had to buy into it. You know what I'm saying? In between movies. Um, and like I said, they did it well because it was gut wrenching watching them in Infinity War. When in actuality, we only had one movie prior to that where you could even see that there was a relationship between them in Civil War, and that was more of a like he was like a protector for her, but he had a crush on her almost type thing. And she was almost like the reluctant. I know you got a crush on me, but it's not even like that, bruh. Like she wanted them friend zoned. You know what I'm saying? Almost. And there was a little moment in Age of Ultron when he saves her, or rescues her, I guess, from something. He flew in and picked her up, out of the train or bus before it exploded or something like that. And I remember at the time, anyone who knows the comics is like, oh, they set that scene up, romance, swoop in to save her for foreshadowing. You see what I'm saying? But it's not like we really got a lot of depth after the foreshadowing. So this scene, I perfectly segued into it. It finally pays off. You get your payoff. You get to see a scene that is, when I first was watching it, I'm thinking, oh, that's at the compound, during Civil War. But then I'm like, nah, this is actually earlier than that because her hair was dark still. And even when they even were detailed enough that when Vision comes through the wall, he looks like the 2015 like coloring, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But to me, they looked time period accurate to 2015 and Age of Ultron. So they sit down, they have this conversation, and she's, when she mentions, wanting him back, then I'm definitely realizing, oh, this is a scene from uh, after Pietro has died. So great piece of scenery, or dialogue, and a great scene to have in there because we don't really get that. We don't get to see that after Pietro dies. It's more like the movie ends. Yeah, she's gonna be an Avenger, and then the next time we see her, she's in Civil War and like she's training under, getting her mentorship from Captain America and Black Widow. You see what I'm saying? So let me get speed on through this. So I just thought that was dope. Loved that scene. Touching, tender, great dialogue. The 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 line that Vision says about, isn't grief just love persevering? I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, I'm a dude, I'm a bro, but man, that is tugging at the heartstrings, man. That is quality, uh, giving you the feels. And now you can see how the two of them like were bonding and falling in love. And he talked about how he's never had anyone because he's an android. Um, you see what I'm saying? Like they gave us enough of a scene there where you could see the budding of their friendship, romance, so that the stuff in Civil War makes more sense. Because by Civil War, like I said, you see they have a bond. You're like, well, what did that happen? Just because she picked, because he rescued you from an exploding vehicle or whatever it was. Um, so we get that. Great scene, great. I mean, the acting again. I don't know. I mean, these people are killing it. Elizabeth Olsen has got to be. I put it like this: mark my words, a year, whatever it is from now, she's going to be nominated for an Emmy because this is considered TV. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be the first Marvel television MCU slash Disney Plus show to warrant somebody an Emmy nomination. I promise you. I mean, she should. I don't know how many nominees get to be chosen, but she should be close to in the running. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I'll put it like that. Uh, so yeah, you have that. And then going into where she went to the facility, where I'm looking at that right now, where you see the body of Vision being separated and all that. I'm not going to go into any details there. I'm just going to say the scene is incredible as far as being touching, as far as the visual of it, before, as far as the way they special effects to make this look like an android being, you know what I mean? What's that word? Dissected like a lab frog, and her acting again, incredible. The moment when she walks in and like she looks up at the security monitor. Oh my gosh, man, she can play some different emotions, man. She looked like you don't want no parts of that right there. Uh, so she leaves the facility. I'm looking at this right now. I don't know what the heck that envelope. Oh no. She just found. That's right. Never mind. It was an envelope that was in the car. See, at first I thought it was going to be something like maybe Agatha planted in her car a long time ago or something. But no, it actually turned out to be her looking at a map or some note that Vision wrote for her, that it looks like they had looked at this area in Westview at some point during their time as a budding romance. And so she went to visit that area. So again, just like really melodrama, really deep, you know, again, superhero, expanding beyond the genre type touching material here. Like really some love story. Yeah, good stuff. If you're a fan of any of the, if you like dramas and you like emotional material, like I do, because I like all genres, for them to be able to squeeze this into this episode like this, you don't even think you're watching a Marvel show. Or, you know what I mean? A Marvel show, Marvel movie. And I mean, I can't say that because they've done good jobs of it all the time. But I don't know if they've ever been able to do it on this level because they didn't really have a love story to tell like this. So there we get our answer for why she's in Westview. You see what I'm saying? Now I'm looking at it right now where she's in this area where it's like ruins, it looks like. Just cinder blocks. So it clicked in my head later on as I was thinking about it. Is this their way of saying, I don't know, is this their way of saying that they had she looked at this paper and it's talking about, he said to grow old in, like they had found a plot of land. Was this a plot of land they were planning on living together in? Or was it actually the site of where the Avengers, where she originally, you know, the two of them bonded? Either way, it means it shows you the depth of the connection, the sentimental connection for her. Because I see the cinder blocks, it almost makes you think something was there prior to this. And I'm trying to think, did that uh, facility get destroyed, or did it get just is this from? Oh, wait, no, I don't know. I have to go back and think about this. So I'm not really sure what that site is. Basically, is it old Avengers compound, or is it just a plot of land they were gonna try to move into, or have something built for them in their life together? Either way, like I said, that's dope. Because what she even mentions to Agatha in her memory, this is the first place Vision and I, first home we shared. She said, it's like, oh, that's touching. Even though it wasn't really, it was, they were both in a compound together as superheroes. Um, so from there, she has that moment very similar to that crying out that she had when Pietro died. And you remember when she did that, she lit a beam of energy that just killed all of Ultron's little bots. So think about it. She's been. It's almost like the grief is powering her because now she did that again. Dope visual special effect moment. The anguish of her screaming was, again, I was feeling it. Like it was gut wrenching and emotional when you feel like what she's going through, and then that's what created Westview. Just freaking dope, man. You see it coming out of her, and all of a sudden it's covering the whole town, and it brings Vision, and in their black and white home. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I freaking love it. Like I can't say enough. Like if you want to say I'm a being a mark or whatever, a shill, I think this crap is dope. As dope as anything I've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would I'm gonna make a list. I said this in my last video where I reviewed episode 7 is Marvel moments. I said MCU moments, really, because we're not gonna talk about Marvel. Well, we could, but I'm not focused on the other studios Marvel works. I'm talking about the MCU because they've taken to the whole other level to where you can deserve to call it moments. MCU moments. Yeah, this episode has some that I would list in a top 10 probably. So you'll see that list when I make it. But yeah, again, amazing. Then we get to see this like studio set and what's her name? Agatha kind of, snaps her out of realize, now that we've done our trip down memory lane, I guess that was all she was trying to get to was to lead Wanda to the moment when she created this thing. And she got to, by, in essence, by watching Wanda's psyche, like the, you know, ghost of Christmas past and all that stuff does, where they take you through your life and they're watching you watch your life, she wanted to see the moment. She's trying to get Wanda to the moment. Like, what the heck was the moment when this happened, though? And then she finally got to see it. Agatha gets to see that, okay, that's what it was, huh? So you actually just did this out of some angered moment of dropping to your knees and screaming, and your body just let out all this energy. So that's when she says, oh, there it is. I'm at the end of the episode. So that's where she gets to, once she got what she wanted, she's obviously kind of left Wanda there in the moment. She didn't went and grabbed the boys again and snaps her out of it. So that's the moment where Wanda's in the TV studio with the cameras and the studio audience. Because again, she's reliving it herself. Because she said in a couple episodes ago, talking to fake Pietro, that she didn't know how she did this. So it's almost like she got to really realize, dang, this is when this happened, And I could see that. Like, if you were screaming out in anguish, and then you created a whole city, and you woke up and saw a vision, you would just like go with the flow. And that also explains why most of the early episodes, especially as they progressed, you could see she was trying to hang on, like she was going with the flow, which is why it always looked like she was in control, which she was because she created it, but she wasn't in control because she didn't create it on purpose. So it's almost like a Hulk type thing. You know what I mean? She's not really. So she was on the borderline, of the brink of like falling into like a total lack of control over what's happening. And it makes more sense looking at each episode how she was having this, the grip was slipping away. I'm like, I want to keep this reality, but I don't really know how I made it. So I think she's going to get a revelation now that she got to walk through it again to realize, yeah, that this happened at this moment. This is how I ended up doing this. So it's going to have to play into the next episodes, hopefully, like her tapping into her ability. But great ending. So now Agatha's got the two boys. We don't really know where that's going, but she makes the point of basically saying, "Look, now that I've seen all this, yeah, there's something up with you." And that's when I think she said something like, "Got the chaos creation ability." And she said that makes you the Scarlet Witch. Oh, mark out, to hear the name for the first time. And then they, it's funny because they made a point in like the fourth episode where we got to see everything outside of the hex in Hayward when Jimmy Woo was giving the team a briefing on Wanda and Vision. In Hayward's like she doesn't have a name, she doesn't have like a nickname or some kind of code name. I mean, even at that time, I was thinking to myself, he's saying that because they've never called her the Scarlet Witch, which means it's going to probably come up in the show later on. I never mentioned it in my other videos, but I was thinking that, and that's what happened. Um, Speaking of a markout moment, and it's not MCU related, as I just contradicted myself that other studios I don't really want to bring up their moments. But when speaking of Wanda, her father, in the X-Men First Class, when that movie ends, and somebody calls him Eric, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he was talking to Frost, Emma Frost. He's like, "I prefer Magneto," and that's how the movie ended. I mean, back in 2011, I was marking the heck out in the movie theater, and every time I watched it on DVD. So, it's like almost like a similar moment like that. To call her the Scarlet Witch, dopeness. So I just think but that's not. I mean, it's not. That's not very promising. I mean, that's kind of ominous and foreboding to think what Wanda's future is, because it makes me think like I have like I always have that this series is going to end very tragically for her and send her maybe over an edge into villainy or something, dangerous. Again, I've said this before, which is gonna, which is how Doctor Strange is gonna have to be tied in. Lastly, speaking of Doctor Strange, there's supposed to be another cameo or a bigger cameo than having the other Fox version of Quicksilver in this series. And while Doctor Strange would seem to some to be not very big of a deal, since we already know that she's going to be in his movie, I'm just starting to think, yeah, that's it. I mean, I would think he was going to appear in this anyway, because how else will you tie it to his movie? And because they're shooting Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness currently, I'm pretty sure, just like they had a shot for shot scene from Doctor Strange that was it. No, no, no. Yeah, no, no, no. Here's what it was. In Doctor Strange, they had a shot for shot post credit scene from Thor Ragnarok. That's what I meant to say, which came out a year later. Full year later. November 2016, November 2017. Shot for shot. A shot from Ragnarok appeared in Doctor Strange as a post credit. Same with the post credit for Ant-Man 2015 in August. Had a shot for shot scene from Civil War, which came out in May of 2016. Featured as a post credit. I think there's going to be a shot for shot scene from Doctor Strange that's going to appear at the end of WandaVision. I bet you that even had something to do with why the WandaVision date was getting pushed back, because they had to do a little post production on that. It's probably they went straight to I forget where they're shooting Doctor Strange, but I bet you before COVID hit, they were just doing a little bit of shooting. They probably got that stuff out of the way, not because they knew COVID was going to come, but they just knew they wanted to shoot these scenes first because they're going to be tagged onto the show. It just makes sense. I pay attention to the MCU and how they work. I promise you that's what happened. So I think we're going to get that scene. It's going to be a post-credit scene of some sort of Doctor Strange. It's going to be a scene shot for shot that appears in his movie, which don't come out till, well, it comes out next year. I think it's May of next year now. They keep bumping dates back. So there you go. Then you get the post-credit, for comic book geeks, in your source material, seeing that white version of Vision. I'm familiar with it, not greatly familiar with it, so it's like the significance of it is not necessarily resonating with me. I just know it looked dope, and to me, hey, if it's something that came from the comics, bring it on. That's really how I look at it. You don't have to stay true to no comics, but if you're doing something that's pulled from the comics, okay. I mean, it's probably going to be good because it's going to be something that's really tied into some other great storytelling or some great idea that a person had. You know what I mean? If it's all boils back down to these comic book characters, you got to respect that. So there you go. Great scene. I mean, just period. If you know or don't know about that, it's freaky to see this that they've animated the vision, this clone, so to speak. As I explained it, my lady was like, "So what does that basically mean? They cloned him?" I was like, "Yeah, you know, for lack of a better term, they've been working on because they wanted him as a weapon anyway. So they got enough, and then they used the energy from her throwing that drone back at him or missile, whatever that was, that weapon they was going to try to put on her. You know, they still had some of that, I guess, CMBR or whatever energy on it. They used that to finish. It was a great line by Hayward too. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but go back and watch it. His little line that he says about, all we needed was a little spark of that, from the source or something like that. So yeah, great episode. Like a lot of it just hit on so many levels with here. Yeah, this is what makes this episode so dope. You got some throwback to the Infinity Stones, and I know the Infinity Stone stuff is getting a little old, but if that was purposeful. You got a little throwback to the Infinity Stones. You got some background on Wanda and Pietro. You got a new twist on Wanda's abilities. You got a new twist on really the connection between her and Vision because of that Mind Stone. I mean, they said it before in Age of Ultron, or I mean, not Age of Ultron, in Infinity War and whatnot. But it's almost like it just takes on a whole other level when you see how she faced that Mind Stone and cracked the shell on it. Um, and again, I'm guessing these are things she don't remember, which is fine. I totally believe that. Um, so you got that stuff. You got some background, backstory on their romance, and then it just sets up everything as to why we're watching what we've been watching, as far as why she went to Westview, why she has the sitcom things, in her mind, why is everything coming out that way, why has she been the way she's been throughout each episode. So, and again, it totally ups her ante as a powerful being, which is dope. She's like, I keep saying she's becoming one of my favorite characters. And again, she really already was. Like, the way she came across in Infinity War alone, the fight scene when her and Vision are fighting off the, what were they called again? Dang. Like, there's a name for Thanos' children or whatever they're called. That scene, she was demonstrating some dope action, and then of course the battle in Wakanda. So she's just been, again, as far as for me, when you bring in a Captain Marvel who gets her own movie and they're hyping her up, I'm still Team Wanda over here. So there you go. And then all in all, they set up the end of this series greatly because it's gonna be this next episode's got to be crazy. If you got a new Vision, you got the Vision that's in the hex. We didn't get to see. I missed my girl, Monica. But, it was good to have this episode. This was needed to do this for these characters. But I was missing that growing, everly popular, uh, more and more each episode, Monica Rambeau. So she's going to be involved with her powers. So, I mean, you got a lot of stuff that's about to happen in episode 9, and then how is it going to tie into Doctor Strange? How is it going to end? It's going to be something, like I said, pretty catastrophic emotionally, physically, or on some level. So it sets the MCU. It shows that they got more stories to tell and more directions to go. So, like I said, hopefully there's some mutant connectivity to this down the line somewhere. But if not, they just did a great job setting a lot of stuff up. That's all I got. I'm out. Peace.